Naruto is in trouble. He's now confirmed to be Jura's true target. And this is very important because there's been some confusion about whether he wants the Nine Tails Naruto or Himawari based on statements made by Jura himself. He also confirms something very important, that being the why. Why does Jura want to consume Naruto Uzumaki? Well, the answer to that question is the tailed beast. You see, after his battle with Kawaki, which was awesome by the way, Juro went on to monologue about his thoughts about the concept of love and its effect on the humans around him. He notes that because of the sacrifice made by Inojin, Himawari awakened newfound power, and the same happened with Sarada as well. She too awakened newfound power and took down one of the Shinju. Both cases were extraordinary, something that can't be explained by normal means. Thus his conclusion that there must be a common thread linking all of them together, that being the concept of love. This caused him to somewhat evolve his views on love itself. While it can be a fatal flaw in humans, it can also be a source of unparalleled evolution, a source of great strength. Now this is relevant to Naruto because he also links it back to Kawaki. His combat ability is now far beyond what it used to be. So similar to Sarada and Himawari, he was able to gain immense power in a very short period of time. Why is that? Well, Juro of course is portrayed to be a very smart character, so he finds the answer to this question by provoking Kawaki. He notes that he never thought he would rush to Boruto's rescue. As far as he knows, there's only one thing in this world that Kawaki wants to protect, and it should be Naruto Uzumaki. He then tells Kawaki that he went to the village looking for Naruto, and was shocked to learn that he was pronounced dead. But looking into Kawaki's eyes at this moment, he knows for sure Naruto Uzumaki is still alive. So Jura's method is actually quite simple and pretty smart. He knows that Kawaki only cares for Naruto, at least that's what he believes, because I would argue that he does care about Himawari, but put that aside, he believes that Kawaki only cares for Naruto, so why exactly is he so concerned? What is he so worried about? What is he trying so hard to protect? Well, given Kawaki's reaction to Jura's insinuation, it must be the case that Naruto is indeed alive. Jura then goes on to note that he wants to devour him, Naruto Uzumaki that is, and that's because Naruto connected with many of the tailed beasts, which he believes was because of love. So he believes that if he consumes Naruto, him being a tailed beast himself, he might be able to understand what the meaning of love truly is. So the reason why Jura feels that he needs to consume Naruto isn't just because of some connection they might share, but also because he wants to understand the concept of love itself. And he believes that Naruto, that was able to connect with the tailed beast on a deeper level, might be able to facilitate that. With that said, it doesn't answer the question of why he wants to learn about the concept of love in the first place. What triggered this interest? Well, I have a theory. See, as I mentioned before in prior videos, there are two ways to explain Jura's connection to Naruto and the tailed beast. One is to work with this statement that says, the Ten Tails is just a fragment of the God Tree that created the universe, which implies that every Ten Tails is connected biologically, which also could mean that they're connected through chakra as well. So one could say that this current Ten Tails is experiencing the feelings of a past Ten Tails, whose chakra was separated into 9 Biju, the main one being the Nine Tails. Though there is a second option, as I said before, which is that this new Ten Tails is an offshoot of the past Ten Tails. You see, the origins of the Ten Tails in Boruto has always been a point of contention to some extent. Some believe that Ishiki left the planet after Kaguya betrayed him and found another Ten Tails, while the next faction believes that this is the Ten Tails they arrived with, since one was already planted when they got to the planet. This is purely based off what was shown in the anime in Naruto, which had Kaguya descending upon the land to an already established god tree, which her servant said had been there for several millennia. This is then contradicted by Boruto's manga, which outright stated that Kaguya arrived on the planet along with Ishiki, which is contradictory to what happened in the anime. But it also implied that they were the ones who brought the Ten Tails to the planet as well. Kaguya was also meant to be fed to that 10 tails to evolve it into the God Tree, by the way, which is why she betrayed Ishiki. So this was either a retcon, or you could simply call the anime episode filler, since none of that was in Naruto's manga. In that case, it is possible that Kaguya was fed to the 10 tails and betrayed Ishiki after she was resurrected through karma, or she just fed Ishiki's lower half to the 10 tails to trigger its evolution. It doesn't really matter. The point is that they were the ones who brought the 10 tails we know and love per Boruto's manga, which means that the new 10 tails in Boruto can't also be the 10 tails they arrived with. Now this then leads me to my belief that the 10 tails in Boruto is an offshoot of the one from Naruto, which also explains why it has a connection to, well, Naruto. This also goes back to a video I did a few months ago that explained what trees Matsuri was speaking to, which I believe is the 10 tails from Naruto, which has roots spreading across the entire planet. This first happened when Kaguya came to the planet and cultivated her divine tree, because as stated by Amado in chapter 46, the divine tree is planted in the ground and its roots then grows deeply, reaching across the entire planet, just like a mold in your bathroom. That is how it sucks the chakra from all living things on said planet. We also, by the way, saw this happen in the anime as well, and was later confirmed to be draining energy from places such as Mount Miyaboku. And of course, I know that some of you guys might be saying, well kiddo, she said trees, not roots. So how does that make any sense? Well, I explained this in the prior video as well, that there is this thing called root sprouts that spawn from root systems and turn into miniature versions of the original tree. That explains why Kaguya was surrounded by multiple divine trees in that one panel, or why Momoshiki's planet had multiple divine trees planted at the same time. This initially led us to assume that Momoshiki simply had multiple 10 tails in his possession, or that he simply reused the same 10 tails over and over again on the same planet. When the truth is that the root of the divine tree simply sprouted copies of itself across the entire planet, which then grew to perform the same function of the original divine tree. This, by the way, would also explain why Mr. Momoshiki was able to sprout a divine tree in one of his dimensions back in chapter 5, which he attributed to the chakra he stole from the 8 tails. What this means is that the plant organ of the 10 tails, which is referring to the root sprout, can be used to mimic the function of the actual 10 tails, likely to a much smaller extent, and simply feeding potent chakra to this root sprout, which is what he did with the chakra of the 8 tails, can cause it to quickly grow into a fully formed divine tree. I go way more in depth on this in that video, so if you guys want to learn more, go and watch that one after this one. I'm not going to just repeat that entire video here, that would be crazy, although, you know, that would be easier for me. But anyways, there's multiple evidence suggesting this possibility, such as Victor literally creating a copy of the divine tree using aspects of the divine tree from the war, so there you go. So the Boruto manga has been hinting towards the possibility of there being offshoots of the divine tree with multiple characters over and over again. But why? Well, one could argue that it's built up to the reveal that the 10 tails in Boruto is a clone of the one from Naruto, the same 10 tails that Kaguya merged with. This would then explain why Jura, who is the incarnation of the 10 tails, wants to consume Naruto. The original 10 tails was the complete form of all the Bijus combined, including Kurama. In fact, the 10 tails absorbed the half of Kurama that resided in Naruto and built a connection with him for many years, along with the fact that Naruto himself formed a bond with not just Kurama but all 9 of them. So if the 10 tails, after it gained consciousness, was to have a deep connection with a Jinchuriki due to its connection to the Biju its chakra created, it makes sense that this person would be Naruto. There's also this aspect of Kaguya as well, because again, Kaguya merged with the 10 tails. And this is important because Kaguya was the first Otsutsuki to experience the concept of love. And this is purely based on something Kaguya herself said when speaking about the Otsutsuki, which is that love doesn't work on them. They only understand power. And I always found this very strange to some extent, because either Kaguya went through some genetic change that allowed her to be capable of love because she did fall in love with a human and had kids, or this statement by Kaguya is just flat out false and the Otsutsuki are capable of love, they just need to experience it. Also, even the structure of the sentence implies that she's different, because she says love doesn't work on them, not that it doesn't work on us. So this could really go either way, to be honest. I guess we'll see soon enough, but there's this constant theme that love doesn't work on the Otsutsuki, which also ties into why Sarada and Sumire might be immune to omnipotence, and not because they themselves are Otsutsuki, but because they're in love with one, which would be Boruto. But that's a topic for another video. The point of this is to say that there might be some influence of Kaguya actually knowing what love feels like seeping into this Tento's, which causes Jura to question what that feeling is. It might seem like a massive stretch, but you know, it could also be correct, so I guess we'll see. With that said, if you guys liked it, drop a like down below and also comment your thoughts, and of course, you know, subscribe, the usual stuff. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.